So I was having this conversation with my dad the other day, and we talked about spirituality. We talked about understanding the spiritual path. And one thing that dawned on me was intellect in relationship to spirituality or spiritual awakening. And what I realized is that intellect is something that is farly overrated when it comes to the spiritual path. You see, we tend to put a lot of emphasis and focus on how many books we've read, how many techniques we have absorbed and practiced and captured and even made up. But we fail to recognize the importance of common sense, the importance of observation, the importance of simply witnessing to truly awaken spiritually. And this is something that I wish to really get across to you, is when we think about all of the major spiritual avatars and teachers like Jesus, like Buddha, Muhammad, when you think about just these three individuals, right? Because they capture basically even Moses, right? Because they capture the major religions of the world. And when we think about these four individuals, consider this. What kind of education did they have? What kind of education, what kind of skills did they have to obtain knowledge? Chances are 3 out of 4 of them did not know how to read. Jesus was a carpenter. I believe his dad was a carpenter. Chances are they were poor. They didn't know how to read. Moses probably didn't know how to read. Let's see, Muhammad, I can't honestly say I know a lot about Muhammad, but chances are he didn't know how to read either. Now, Buddha, the story of Buddha goes that he was a prince. So chances are he had the higher education and knew how to read. But none of his teachings were based on reading. All of their teachings were based on understanding common sense and observing what is going on within oneself and how to use that to relate to others and connect with others. So when I think about this more and I dive deeper into this idea and understanding that it's not about books, it's not about passed down knowledge or information, it's simply having the ability to look within yourself, to observe your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas, to observe even your ego, even your consciousness, to be able to really understand the significance, the connection, understand how to even maneuver, manipulate, to observe, to let go of all of these things is actually the key, is actually the spiritual path in itself. So as you go through and you think about this concept of you, really understand how it plays a role in the most major, most significant, most absolute role in your spiritual practice. And I've been coming to an understanding that even as I talk and share my understandings on metaphysics, on consciousness, on spirituality, how we tend to lay too much weight. We put too much weight on these techniques. We put too much weight on learning how to do things. I mean, if you comb through all of the content that's out there in the world on the internet, it's all about, oh, this technique will help you to manifest this. This technique will do this. This technique will do that. And you think, well, all these techniques, what happened to the previous techniques that were taught before? And I'm not against technique, so to speak. What I am against is the constant chase. You see, when we are constantly chasing something like enlightenment or happiness, what we're doing is we're perpetuating the chase. We're continuing to chase because we are creating this chase. We're not coming to a point of stillness within our journey. We're not coming to a point of realizing that you and everything that you have within you is enough to come to this state of enlightenment or self-realization or even happiness and fulfillment. it's important to understand that you cannot keep adding more and more stuff, expecting that that's going to get you to where you want to be spiritually, where you want to be as far as happiness. You have to understand that you have enough. You have everything you need within you in order to create that achievement. Just like all of those other spiritual avatars and many more, people like Osho, they don't really focus on fancy techniques or labels or dogma or teachings. It's really about looking within, self-observation, obtaining the ability to not so much be objective with your thoughts, but understand and see them at face value. When you can see your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your ideas, your beliefs, and realize that they are all made up. They are all something that comes from something else. And you think about that something else, which is consciousness, then you begin to see and peel back all of the layers of bull and all of the layers that keep you suffering. And when you can observe those layers of suffering, then you can free yourself from the suffering. Be mindful about all of these things that's going on within your mind. Techniques, spiritual books, they all can add more and more layers. Because as you chase these techniques and you try one technique, and before you can even come close to mastering this technique, you hear about another technique. You learn about that technique. And then you're chasing after all of these techniques thinking that they're going to get you the results that you want. When in fact, it is the chasing of these techniques, the chasing of these teachings that are actually taking you further and further away from the realization that is so easy or so simple to obtain if you just stick and look within. Look within. Understand that everything within you is everything you need to create the happiness you wish to express, you wish to exude, you wish to manifest in the world. Realize, be mindful, it is you. It is no one else. It is you. Now, people have the ability to influence, to inspire, to motivate. When we look at others, it isn't to compare ourselves in a way that brings us down. It's a way of reminding us of our potential. So when we look at these spiritual teachers, Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, Siddhartha, Buddha, Osho, even the modern day ones, Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer, Neville Goddard, Reverend Ike, all of these individuals realize that the way they have manifested or realized their potential in the world, you have that within you as well. It is not so much their techniques, it's their realization. So be mindful about the ability that you have within you to come to that realization. So it's okay to think about these techniques, but always be mindful every time you think about a new technique or you see a new technique, that it is not so much the technique. It is within you that is really the key. That within you that is fueling that technique, that is bringing truth to that technique, that is bringing the true, what I would say, connection, the bond to that technique, right? That is something that is within you. It is not the technique. It is you that is creating that by way of looking at the technique or how you approach the technique or how you create and how you put into that technique. You see, the concentration, the focus, the intensity, the belief that you put into that technique is what makes the techniques work. So it all comes from you. Just like I've been saying, consciousness, your consciousness creates everything you are experiencing. So even though you may identify with someone's teachings, someone's techniques, it is truly you that is bringing power to those teachings and those techniques. So be mindful. It's not about intellect. It's not about how many books you've read. It's not about how fast you've read these books. Because I know many people who have read thousands of books on spirituality, but they are furthest from happiness, joy, understanding, presence, understanding fulfillment, understanding the present moment. And those are all things you can obtain without reading a single book. The greatest teachers in spirituality is being alone with self, contemplation of self and your thoughts and your feelings, and maybe being outside in nature and observing nature. Those are the things that probably will give you the most profound insights, the most profound revelations and understandings. So go within, experience true teachings that is already within you. You just have to be willing and unafraid to unlock what is already there. And once you do that, then you can come into true understanding as to who you are. Thank you so much, and continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.